What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Bangers Only podcast. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our YouTube channel. We got a new episode every Friday. And hope you guys enjoy this one. Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome back.
What's up?
Obviously, today you can tell who we're going to talk about. And me personally, it's a band that I've not grown up listening to, but I got into them when I was in high school. And I mean, I'm really excited to talk about them. And Clarke, you had never really listened. You have never heard of this band, have you?
I had not.
No. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say and your take on, all their music. They don't have a bunch, but they have 3 solid albums out,
Yeah, it looked like 3 albums in the last 6 years.
Yeah, so which is that's
pretty normal.
Good.
I mean,
yeah, it's normal.
And you have that kind of nostalgia factor with talking about them, so that'll be interesting to hear about.
Yeah,
and just your kind of introduction to them. Yeah.
So Catfish and the Bottlemen, they're a band out of the UK, and they first came out in 2014 with their first album, The Balcony, and then they released that album in the US in early 2015. And so apparently when they released The Balcony, they had done some interview or something, and they basically said that they had all 3 albums already written. So everything was already written and done. All they had to do was just record them, and so I think when you listen to all these 3 different projects, you'll hear that they all pretty much sound the same. It sounds like a, part 1, part 2, of part 3 of one single album, but that's because everything was already written. And I'm sure in the time between each separate year, or each separate album, and all through those years, they were just, making little tweaks and seeing what they could add, what they can take out, and just making sure they were good.
That explains a lot for me, because it explains a lot, but it doesn't justify it, in my opinion. Because I do feel like their albums were very constant with one another, which would happen if you write them all at the same time, right? And I just feel like in every kind of aspect of the music, it just does not change. And yes, it's good to keep a sound, but they do more. They kind of go past that, and they just it all just really sounded the same eventually, and I was kind of getting bored, if I'm being honest.
I'm bleeding. Oops. That's that I could totally understand that. Coming from someone who just has never listened to them before, wanting to see how they progress, through the years and what changes they make. And for me, having listening to them, I think I listened to them when I was a freshman in high school. So I was 2014 for me, which is when they released their album, and I was super excited because I like these guys, and then they came out with The Ride, and I was really excited because I was like, dude, this is the music that I love. I was sad when The Balcony had ended because I really liked it and I wanted more, and then they gave me more, and then they gave me more with what was the last one? It was
The Balance.
The Balance, And I was just I don't know. For me personally, I was just really excited that I had more of their music. But I do agree that it's kind of sad not to hear any innovation.
Yeah, and it's a 6-year period of time. I'd understand if it was they wrote all 3 and they released it yearly, a kind of 3-year type of deal. But to me, it's this is their whole discography, right? And it's it's essentially one project.
And that can be tough for people like you said right now. It was just it kind of just got boring. There was nothing really different. 100% agree with that it can get boring. But like for me, having that nostalgia factor is why I like them, and why I think I can accept the consistency of every album. But I mean, let's just go ahead and let's break down by album.
Yeah. First though, I just want to say, like, I think that, like, they have a lot of talent, like musical talent. Like, they play their instruments very well. That, like, I definitely noticed that when I first jumped in. It's like these guys, they're young, but they sound very professional in how they play, and like, that's something that really stood out. And just, I feel like for their overall sound, they're very high energy. You know what I mean? Like, I listen to their music and it's like, it energizes me in a way. You know what I mean? Hold on, my mom.
Yeah, I feel that. I totally feel that. And you know, I got a chance to see these guys live once.
Oh, really?
And yeah, so I've seen them live. They opened for a Green Day concert, and you know, they are full of energy, like you said. Like, their music is energetic. They're young dudes, and what I liked about them was that they just sounded perfect. Like, you know, there's some bands where you go and you listen, and you're like, what the heck? Like, they don't sound the same, you know. But they sounded great, and they sounded like how you would think they would sound live.
That's good.
For me, that was huge, because I was like, wow, like I'm shocked that you guys sound this great live. And with that much energy, and you know doing whatever they want with the songs, like changing up solos, you know, they did it all so well. But you know, let's just hop into the balcony.
Okay.
So why don't you start us off?
Okay. So as a whole, this album kind of like, and this isn't a bad thing, but it kind of made me sad. Like, it's very kind of like melancholy, like, in its like aura and in its sound. Like, it's very, it's, I think that's something that sets this one a little bit apart from the next two, is because it's just like, it's a very consistent vibe throughout. And it's like, it does kind of introduce the content that they will have for like their next two projects after this, though, which is basically just, you know, talking about young love and just life and random drunk hookups and stuff. So, I mean, that's kind of the content that I was hearing throughout here. Some of my favorite songs were 26, Sidewinder, and Fallout.
Those are respectable. For me, I liked how it started off mellow, you know, and then like it just like, I think what you said earlier, that they were really good with their instruments, like this, it came true in this album, you know. And I think this album is super diverse. Like, there's a bunch of like randomness in these songs, and you can tell like they're young dudes, and it really fits that indie vibe that they're going for. And you know, I read this in another project, or like another interview about them, that at least not about this album, but just like when they approach their music, is they think that a lot of people are too artsy, and they want to be too crazy with their music and be all, you know, weird with it, and think outside the box. But you know, when they make their music, they like to just think inside the box and just like streamline their music, if that makes sense.
They perfect the formula in a way.
Yeah. And if you know, like all these songs, like everything just kind of works. And I think of all the albums, this one is probably like my favorite.
I agree.
This one is 100%. Yeah, it's my favorite, because it just reminds me of like high school, really. And my favorite song off this album is Kathleen.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Kathleen was my favorite because I was in a band in high school, or like we try to like start it and we try to cover this song, and I still remember the bass line. I played bass on it.
All right, okay.
And so like the bass line on this was fire. It was really good. It was really fun to play. But like you said, like, you know, a lot of their stuff, in at least in this one, is a lot of, like, you know, young love, drunk love.
Yeah.
And then what I found interesting was a lot of this was like, you know, the sad stuff. And then when they get to their next album, The Ride, like that one seems like, you know, the next step in that young love story, or that young love phase.
Yeah.
Is they're finally like a little bit happy,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
It's less sad for sure.
It's way less sad. Yeah. This one was great. Overall, how, like, what stood out to you about this one album particularly?
The Ride.
No, I'm talking about The Balcony.
Oh, what stood out about it?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say still just that kind of melancholy sound. Like, I love that sound when it comes to music, because it's just kind of like, I guess that's kind of where I'm at in like my life. It's kind of like the growing up, kind of like adolescent troubles phase of things. And I guess what stood out was just like, oh, there goes the phone, was how they really established who they are as a band, by like we talked about, that formula. It's very much all indie band, and while it's not very unique, they took the formula and they did it well. It's just not very unique. And
Yeah.
then also for their music, they also established like the very much the drum heavy kind of ramp up to the very kind of pop chorus type thing, which is in basically every single one of their songs, is that catchy pop hook that will come around.
Yeah. They kind of remind me of like a late 90s, like early 2000s, like rock band, you know what I'm saying? Like, but they put like their little indie twist on it. Cause you know, they're not trying to use like synths or anything. Everything's straight up like guitars, bass, drums, vocals. It's very basic music, but I feel like the lyrics are written so well. You know, like everything flows, like the melodies for the lyrics are just really, I don't know, I like them. Like he writes a lot of catchy songs, you know?
Yeah, they're catchy. They're very catchy.
Super catchy.
Like you
and they're
said,
not like basic things either. A lot of them are like weird, like analogies too.
Yeah. They're well written, like you said. It's like the formula, like the catchiness, it's relatable, it's well written music, but but the problem that I have is just that it's not anything new when you go from song to song to album, at least in my opinion. Like, it's just, that's what's hard, because it's like I see the potential here for these young dudes, and they're like, they have so much talent, and like I feel like they have like a high ceiling.
And I think it's kind of tough also because they came out with this album first, and it was like such a hit for at least for them in like the UK, you know. And it's tough when you set the bar like this high for yourself this early. Yeah, because exactly. You know, and then honestly, like let's just move on to The Ride now. You know, because you know when they released The Ride, it kind of felt like, okay, cool, like they're living up to the potential. At least like that's what I felt when I listened to it. I was like, okay, cool, they set the bar and they met it again, you know. Like I wasn't at all disappointed when I heard this, because like for me, like I said, like it just felt like I got more of their music. I got like a B-side to their first album. That's what I felt like it was. Yeah, it's the same story, but with like a different narrative, if that makes any sense. Like the subject matter is the same, but looked at it from a different point of view with less of a kind of like unhappy, melancholy lens. I was a little bit disappointed because I did have expectations. Because like, if you think about it, I'm listening to The Balcony and I like it a lot. And then
I go to the ride and I'm kind of expecting a little bit more, like just because it's 2 years afterwards. Just like how artists tend to grow. I mean, sometimes sophomore albums aren't that great. Like, it happens often, especially with the sophomore album, if their first one is a success. Like, that happens with so many artists. But this one, like, I liked it. It was just like what I keep on saying. Like, it's just, it felt like the same thing, but just like not as good as The Balcony.
I can respect that.
That's just what I got. I mean, like, there's because, like, for me, when I'm listening to it, I'm checking out like the instrumentation, which is basically identical to The Balcony. Like, any one of those songs you could put on The Balcony and you wouldn't really notice that it's from a different album, if that makes any sense too.
Yeah, totally, it makes sense.
And then because then, like, I didn't even know that they were written at the same time, and that explains so much. Because then the subject matter is like also very similar, but it's not for me. It's not done in as interesting of a way as it was on The Balcony.
Yeah, I could totally agree with that. And I think this is like a nice little, like, I guess, way we did this, where, you know, I chose someone that I listen to a lot, and you got to listen to them. Like, you know, it's like fresh ears. You know, and I have, you know, I have
perspectives.
Yeah, way like different perspectives at that too, because, you know, I've been listening to this group since 2014, so for like 6 years now.
Yeah.
And you got to listen to them this past week, and, you know, I don't know. I think for me, like, I've been so disappointed and let down by other bands that I've loved and followed when they come out with music and it just sucks. And it's not their sound, and they try to be innovative, but it didn't work for them.
That's what's hard about it.
And I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not open to change at all, because I am. I'm totally with change. Like you know, there's some bands like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They did an album that I was okay with. I liked the change. Other bands, Linkin Park, they threw that shit like down the garbage with some of their recent stuff, and like I was really upset. And so, you know, when they came out with The Ride, I was excited, because, like, dude, like, this is who I know Catfish is, 100%.
Yeah.
Like,
and I totally understand that.
Yeah, and like I was ecstatic, and, you know, some of my favorite songs on here is Heathrow. I loved, like, it's the same chord progression over and over, but I like his voice on this song particularly. It's very, like, emotional, you know? And
he puts a lot of emotion into his voice, like that energy. It doesn't necessarily mean it's like very, like,
fast
typical
paced,
energetic. Yeah, like, but it's just like he puts a lot into when he sings.
He's putting his heart into it, you know?
Yeah.
And he's not just like singing lyrics to just pump out music, because obviously they didn't release this stuff, like, you know, they didn't release 3 albums in 1 year. They waited a long time.
Yeah.
But Heathrow is probably like my favorite song on this album, because it was just great, because he was just saying, like, you know, in this song particularly, he goes like, she was in a different league but I was nothing much, you know?
Yeah.
He's just saying, like, I don't know what's gonna really happen here. Like, he wants his girl, but he really just can't. But what about you? What are your favorite songs off this?
I really liked 7, like, just the way that it kind of opened up the album, because I really what stood out about that track was just like how the theme of, like, 7 was, like, incorporated into it. How he was talking about like the 7-hour, like, time difference or whatever, talking to this person. So I like that. I like the song Soundcheck. I think that was one of the singles, right?
Yeah, I think 7 was a single and Soundcheck was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I like those. I like Postpone. I didn't like the song Oxygen, though. Like, that one stood out as one that I did not like.
I don't like the way it opens. It just feels uneasy.
Yeah, it's isn't it kind of just like a constant like banging of the drum or something? Like I don't remember exactly how it starts, but I do remember it. I didn't like the beginning of it.
Yeah, it was an interesting song. Just the way it was written was weird. Because it opens up weird, and then it like that like weird whiny guitar comes out, and then he sings, and you're like, what? You know, like I feel anxiety in the first like 10 seconds, and then the anxiety goes away, and then it comes back, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, and I mean maybe that's the point, but I don't.
Maybe that
I don't
was.
know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but I like Soundcheck because, like, you know, as a musician, like, you know what Soundcheck is.
yeah.
Like, you know, it's like, okay, we got to do Soundcheck, and he's like, you know, he basically says like, I'll skip Soundcheck for you. You know.
That's a big thing. Like, cause my mom always tells me stories about how when she was in a band and like how they'd sound check for like hours prior to their shows, and like it'd also kind of be like practice in a way. Like they'd be playing. I know because like my dad was a guitar player, and he just like she'd always tell me how he would like just shred solos from like popular bands and stuff, and like that's good practice. Sound checks are important, so.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that song itself, I think it told a really complete like story, and like I guess a struggle, you know, like a thing like, what do I do? Like, do I go to Soundcheck or do I go hang out with you?
Yeah.
You know, but he's saying like, I'll do it. I'll skip it. Like that's how important this girl is to him, or this young love is to him.
Yeah.
Which I thought, you know, was cool.
Yeah, I like that song. I also liked how it sounded, because it had like that kind of midsection of the song that kind of like sounded like what a Soundcheck might sound like.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. It's pretty nice. What I don't know about you, but like do like the album covers, like I don't know what like symbolism they really have. I don't know like
the first one, like for the balcony, like I get it. It makes sense. Like that's the one that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that one makes sense. It's pretty funny. I like it.
Yeah, it's cool. The other ones, I don't remember which is which. I do remember there's one with like a puffin bird like sipping a straw out of like a cup.
That's the balance, yeah. And then the alligator is the ride.
Okay, yeah. I honestly have no clue. Like I'm not even gonna pretend to know.
I mean, like, you know, if you look into it, the alligator is like biting his own tail. So I don't know if like that's like a symbolism, you know?
Could be.
But
the puffin one though, I don't.
The puffin. Funny story about the balcony. Actually, my one of my like really good friends in high school, he had this desk in his room. It was just like, you know, bare wood basically, and he would take like Sharpies, and he would draw like different album covers on there, which was really freaking cool.
That's dope.
And he drew the balcony on there. And then I remember like looking, I was like, dude, what the heck is this drawing? And he goes, oh, that's Catfish and the Bottlemen's The Balcony. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah. And then that's when I got hooked on them. He showed them to me. I was like, no way, this is sick.
Oh, cool.
You know?
That's a cool story.
But like, yeah, but like, you know, I was like, dude, your parents let you have this on your desk, you know? Because we were like 14 at the time. I'm like, they're cool with this? He goes, yeah, because it's an album. I'm like, I mean, I guess, dude. If you're into that.
That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's enough about the ride, you know, for now. Yeah. And the balance.
The balance. Do you want to start off or do you want me to?
You go ahead. You take this one.
Okay, I'm going to just start by saying this is their worst project, in my opinion.
Okay. And why?
Okay, so it's not necessarily because of what's on the album. It's just because at this point, the formula is strongly worn out. Like, I just, like, I don't really know how to describe the feeling I got. Like, because if you're sitting here, you're listening to all three of the albums in a row over the past course of the week, you're just waiting for something to, like, stand out. And there really was nothing that stood out about this project because it wasn't different. Like it's saying the same thing with the the pop choruses, just the cliche subject matter. Like honestly, I just didn't want to keep listening at this point, because, and it's not even that it's bad music, it's just that it's the same thing over and over again. And that's my thing about that project as a whole. There were songs on it that I did like, though. I mean, like I said, it's good music. It's just like, you can't sit down and listen to all their music in a week, I guess, because you're just gonna get bored. I did like Long Shot, because it kind of set itself apart in a way. And I liked Two All a lot. It had a nice little guitar solo in there, and I liked the lyrics in that one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I really liked the intermission.
yeah, me too. That was different. That thing was different because it was short,
like,
but it was like, it took me back, you know.
Yeah, it was short, and it was just like, okay, like I can kind of get behind this, you know. And I remember when I listened to this, I was, I'd heard I think Long Shot was a single, Two All and Conversation were the singles. I don't remember actually, something like that. And then I remember when I got to intermission listening to this, I was like, okay, is this like, are they switching up halfway in the album? Okay, I'm with it. Because I liked it, And I feel like if they had done a lot more how they did intermission, it would have been really nice. And it could have like symbolized something cool too, like intermission being like, we're done with the first half of like our sound. Now we're going to switch it up, and then they could have done something really different at the end, but they didn't really.
Yeah, I liked intermission though. I think it was cool. It was a cool idea, but it didn't really serve any purpose.
Yeah. But I agree with you. I think out of all the 3 projects they have done, this was probably, I don't want to say the worst, but it wasn't the best. It's third. I think the order they released them is like how good they sound,
So
at least to a new listener.
That would make it the worst then.
Yeah, it is. It's the worst. It's the worst. I mean, I don't know. I feel bad saying it because, like, I'm a fan.
Yeah, no, I know. But, like the worst thing out of a good selection of things can also still be good. So you're not necessarily bashing it when you say it's worst.
I know.
But
I feel bad.
I know.
It
I understand. Yeah, this is interesting, though. Like, we haven't really had, like, an episode like this where we're not necessarily, like, I don't want to say we're disagreeing, but like we're coming at it from very different points of view.
Very.
And like,
it's felt weird too. Like, have you felt it? Like,
I feel like
I feel like
when
you say things, I'm a little bit like scared to hear what you're gonna say, because I'm like, oh, he's gonna break my heart, But I also feel like you're choosing your words very carefully so you don't hurt my feelings or something.
Well, yeah, I am, but also, like, I feel like it's my duty to the listeners to be completely honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, like, I'm not like bashing them or anything, because, like, I'm also gonna recognize talent when it's there. Like, I'm not gonna just, if I don't like something, just be like, oh yeah, nah, don't go listen to this. But I mean, I think what I'm saying is kind of like very recognizable when you listen to it. Mm-hmm. And I also think if I weren't saying these things, I don't necessarily think they would have been brought up in this episode.
No, I don't think so. I really don't. But I think you did make a good point earlier saying that, if you listen to them how I listen to them coming out over a period of 6 years, you would feel differently than listening to them within a week of each other. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
In a span of a week, it's different than, hearing a project after project over years.
Yeah.
But I think this was really cool to, like, talk about, just talk about it from 2 different perspectives.
Yeah, I like that. And it'll be cool to see, like, if this type of thing comes up again. Because we don't really talk about the artists before we record the episodes, because we want our ideas to be fresh.
Yeah, we might try to like talk about it before we start recording, but it's like no, let's just save our ideas. Let's save our comments.
Like do that every single time.
Yeah, it never fails, and like I don't know why we do it, but we do.
Yeah,
and like we didn't talk about the balance a lot because there's nothing new to talk about.
Exactly.
like, I feel like we didn't, we obviously didn't give it enough time, enough discussion, but you can't talk about something we already did for the last like 25 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. It's I literally don't have anything else to say about it other than it's like the same formula, but it just kind of runs.
What about that song I sent you before we started recording?
Okay, so you sent me "Read My Mind," which looked like it was on like some compilation album or something.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it because it was acoustic. It was
nice, huh?
Yeah, it was different from everything else. It was literally the only song that was different other than like Intermission.
Yeah,
but
that song is actually a killer song.
I recognize it. I was like, where have I heard this?
It's a killer song, and then at the end of it, he starts singing Ignition. So he mixes Read My Mind and Ignition into one song, into one acoustic, but the way he did it was so nice and so like artistic.
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't even recognize it.
And for me, I was like, listening to it, I was like, oh, this is good. And then he switches to Ignition, and I was like, okay, like this is kind of a banger, I was excited for it. And I think why I got most excited was it was different, like you said.
Yeah,
I had never heard like something acoustic like that from them.
Yeah, and yet again, it represents the potential they have to create new and good music. But then again, it wasn't his song, so I.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't his song, but the cover and the different style was nice to hear his voice in like the Catfish like artisticness, you know, in a different style was really nice to hear, like refreshing. Like it was refreshing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed because like I texted you, I was like, wow, this is different, and I wasn't just being sarcastic. Like I actually like meant that. I was like, whoa. Yeah. I did not expect that.
That was cool. But I think I'm excited to hear new music from them.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see if they actually start, doing what we're hoping that they do, because that'll be cool.
Yeah. But I feel like I don't really have anything else to say now.
There's not much else to say. I mean, people should check them out if they like, this type of alt indie band music. They have some good stuff, but like I said, I mean, don't listen to it all at once. Small doses probably. It's good.
Yeah, I recommend small doses because I mean, I got lucky. I got 2 years to listen between each one.
Yeah.
And don't do it in like between. don't do album after album. That'll be tough.
Yeah. Don't bored. Do it how I did it because I really wanted to enjoy it more than I did.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry that's what happened.
No, it's fine. It's good. It's good to actually not be gushing over someone, because like last week we literally were talking about the Dark Knight soundtrack and we loved it and we thought it was a masterpiece and we both just agreed and we're gushing the whole time. This time was really cool because we had this dichotomy of our opinions, and it was cool.
Yeah, well, I guess do you think that's it? I think that's all we got to say.
Yeah, that's all I got. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode where we kind of did something a little different again.
Yeah, and make sure you guys check us out next week when I hurt Clarke's feelings about someone he likes. And no, I'm playing. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for us, guys. So I'm Adrian.
I'm Clarke.
And we will talk to you guys next week.
Peace.